The fact that so much of adult therapy is dedicated to unraveling the messages we got from our parents is a pretty strong indicator that the evolution of caretaking and parenting is still a work in progress. Which was painfully clear to me on an otherwise typical Tuesday evening when I was standing knee-deep in laundry and dishes and a schedule tighter than my Spanx. And my 8-year-old marched in, third of my 4 daughters, born within 5 years of each other. And she announces with complete confidence, "I'm quitting ballet." Statement, not a question. So I, being the curious parent that I am, "Wait, what? Why?" She didn't blink. Deadpan. Because you can't win at ballet. I hesitated. She wasn't wrong. You can't win. And that's a problem. What's the point in doing anything if you can't win at it? And right there, standing in my yellow rubber dish gloves, dripping suds down my arms, it hit me. My tiny daughter had absorbed something I never meant to pass down. Being good? Not enough. You want to matter? You got to win. How'd I done that? How was it that my unconscious need for perfectionism had been picked up by my child? And how would I undo it? Knowing something and knowing how to change it, 2 completely different things. And you know why? Because when stress hits, we don't rise to the level of our intentions. We sink to the level of our wiring. My wiring? Perfectionism. I got to do better. So the irony? I went right back to trying even harder to win at parenting. Homemade granola, cute clothes, baby carrots for lunch. And when that didn't work, I stuck to those desperate little fixes we all grab onto when our kids aren't shaping up the way we expected. We know what that's like, right? A new chore chart, bribe, punishment, called my sister-in-law all the time. I read books, I cornered friends, I hired therapists. I hired more therapists for me, for them, for the dog. If the Roomba had talked back, I think I would have hired a therapist. And I hoped this one would just grow up and be kinder. Oh, I hope she won't grow up anxious perfectionist like me. I probably also hoped I could eat 6 pints of Ben & Jerry's and still lose 12 pounds overnight. But hope doesn't do it, right? Which I began to realize because parenting just felt like it got harder. How was it that I knew I was just supposed to stay calm when my 4 daughters were arguing again about who would get the front seat on the way to school, and instead I'd slam a carton of milk against the floor? Why would I do that? Like, despite your best intentions, do you sometimes react in ways that you just don't make sense? Maybe you yell if your daughter spills your smoothie. Maybe you go hide in the car if you won't get off the video game. Maybe you sign that homework sheet even though they never opened the book. And even if you're not a parent, you might have had similar reactions with coworkers, significant others, the lady in front of you counting pennies in the grocery store, right? So today I'm just going to share with you why, and obviously you do a lot of work on this anyways, but why we react the way we do despite our best intentions. Because we can't shape our child's wiring until we understand our own. And when you do, parenting becomes easier, not harder. So to help gain that awareness of our reactivity, the first thing you have to understand, which we went over a little bit of this morning, is your wiring was never meant for today's world. Sure, I was a big believer. Life was, survival of the fittest. be the best, work the hardest, win, or get left behind. But that's not actually the reason humans survived. We survived because millions of years ago, you could come across another human, and in an instant, you could read, "Are you my friend, or am I tonight's dinner?" Our nervous system is designed for immediate, short-lived threats. Snap a danger, run away from the lion, recover. But today's world, it delivers the exact opposite. Constant stimulation, constant evaluation. And, some of us treat childhood like it's a competitive sport. But our kids' wiring hasn't evolved enough to handle that stress. And neither has ours. So you get another reminder about a missed homework assignment, and your nervous system responds the same as if a hungry lion had just walked in the door. Right? You had one job. Turn in the assignment. There goes your grade. And I like to think of it as having an invisible backpack that goes everywhere with us. But your backpack, it's not filled with all those helpful nuggets of advice that you read from those parenting books. No, it's filled with what I like to think of as sticky moments. The moments that stuck from your childhood. Not the big things, not the championship or the trip to Disney or your favorite Uggs. I'm talking about the moments of fear or confusion that your childhood brain wasn't equipped to handle. Birth of a sibling, a divorce, having to be that child who always holds it together. A big move, a parent who shuts down in conflict. Because it's not the event that sticks. It's the belief that that young brain glued into place around who you had to be to feel safe and loved, to belong. And those beliefs, they become the stories that we as adults tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. So you're going through life with your visible backpack, just going through your day, and something your child, or really anybody does, triggers a big emotion. Fear, worry, anger, even excitement. And your amygdala, which we heard so much about, that superpower in your brain whose only job is to protect you, dives into that invisible backpack, rummages around, and pulls out a sticky moment to interpret your emotion. But it gets it wrong because it's using yesterday's wiring to deal with today's child. Right? Same old things. Really, a C? Of course you didn't score. You don't practice enough. So I want to show you what that was like in my household. Another daughter, Catalina, is the second of my four, and she was born with pretty severe, very severe medical issues. And she was fed almost entirely through a tube for the first 6 years of her life. Now this entailed me blending fruits and vegetables and protein in some oversized blender, sterilizing these tubes and syringes we used, finding a calm place to sit, and then waiting for 30 to 40 minutes for gravity to drop this food into her stomach. And very often, just when she finished, she'd vomit the entire meal up. Now, had I been that compassionate mother, I might have comforted her by saying, "Oh, Kata, that was hard. Let's get you a clean t-shirt." But no, I'd send my little girl scurrying to get clean towels to clean it up, and I would step right into that parent trap of perfectionism. And I'd rummage through the backpack and find all those thoughts, which would look like, I should have known better. When things go wrong, it's my fault. And then I'd catastrophize. She's going to lose weight. We're going to end up back in the hospital. And before I even knew what was happening, I'd swear. the 4-letter kind. No need for demonstrations. So finally we learned that the answer was to let her watch videos. Because for some reason, when she watched a video, it would sort of distract her enough that she wouldn't vomit and I wouldn't swear. So one day, a county official was coming to my house. I was going to show what a model mother I was, and that Catalina deserved all these services she'd been receiving. Tidied the house, that backpack like zip tight, ready to go. 5 o'clock, she arrives. Glasses, tight bun, stiff gray suit. You know, she's got these sensible shoes. And as she tidies her papers and pens and notebooks, I hoist the smiley Catalina up onto the island and I prepare to feed her. Now Catalina, she bats her big brown eyes. Video, she asks. No, I say. Roy say, we can't watch a video today. This nice lady's here to talk to us. Confused, Catalina drops her head with a slow shake. Oh, fudge. Not fudge, not phooey, not philanthropy. My 4-year-old sporting a pink sparkly t-shirt dropped an F-bomb in front of the government-sanctioned official. I was actually terrified. There go the services. Where'd you learn that word? I was convinced Tight Bun Lady was going to judge me as an unfit parent. I rummaged into that backpack. I pulled out every single belief about not being good enough, and I was pretty sure Tight Bun Lady was going to agree. But that's not what happened. The Tight Bun Lady, she threw her head back and laughed. She didn't judge me. And when she laughed, we laughed. The awareness alone that that was a trap shifted something in me. That trap of, I need to do better, born from my unconscious beliefs. Mistakes are not acceptable. When I mess up, I am unworthy. That was not helpful to me or my parenting. But I'd slung it around so long in my backpack that now I had a 4-year-old with a truck driver mouth. So I'm pretty sure your kids, if you have them, don't have gutter mouths. And your traps are probably different than mine. But you have them because we all do. And if you can catch it just once or twice, it starts to change your parenting. Because remember, we call it a trap because we're trapped in our own story. We're fighting our child, but the battle's not between you and your child. It's between you and yourself. And that backpack, that's not your fault. But bringing awareness to it, that starts to change everything for you, for your child, for your spouses, significant others, for your coworkers. So my challenge to you is, and I have something I can share with you, which obviously can't right now, that I can share with you, is to go home and investigate what's in that backpack. What's causing you to respond in ways that don't actually help? And for those of you who are parents, we also heard this morning that our brains are plastic. They are moldable. They change. We can always start over. We can always repair. You didn't get to choose what into your backpack, but starting today, you can decide what goes into your kids.